In this video, we're going to look at some miscellaneous command line syntaxes that may be useful to you. The first one is actually a text editor. It's called Nano. And if you man Nano, it will tell you that it is a editor. It's small, free, which is always good. It is easier to use than VI. Some people will use that or use Vim or something like that. I like Nano because it is easy, but you also have to keep in mind if you're doing penetration work, you really have to rely on the system that you are targeting and what text editors may be available to you on that system once you breach the network. Nano is probably number 3. The second most usable, I would say, is Emacs. That's EMACS. It's a good editor as well, and it's used on a lot of systems. And then VI is another good one as well. And we're just going to look at Nano today. So let's say, for instance, I want to take a look at one of these folders on the desktop, and I am in the desktop directory, and let's just take a look at menu. So if I just do Nano menu, then it's going to take me into it, and it's going to show me the version and show me what file I'm working in. This is the body of the information that is actually inside the file. And then down here you can see all of the different commands. So if I wanted to exit out, I would use a control, that's what the caret represents, X. So control X would exit me out, control G would get me some help. It also shows how many lines you have, and mostly it's good for writing scripts. It will actually change the color of the syntaxes, and I find that helpful, especially when you're trying to debug a script. That is how you open Nano. So let's go ahead and close it with the Control X. And since we made no changes to the file, it's not going to challenge me to save. However, let's go back into the file itself. So I'll Nano menu, and when I go into the file this time, let's make a small change so that we have to save it. So I'll have it walk through the actual steps of the script by adding a TAC X. Not important for this video, but it gives us a change so we can kind of see it. So now if I use the Control X, it says you have modified this. Do you want to continue or do you want to save? So I would like to save, so I will use the Y. And then it challenges me, okay, now you want to save. Where do you want to save it to? I want to save it back on top of itself as menu. So now all I do is press enter, and so I've just changed it. So before I go too far, let me go back into that file. Let's Nano back into menu, and I'm going to remove the X, remove that info, and I'm going to Control X. I want to save it, yes. So Y, and then I want to save it on top of itself, and there we have it. So now if I want to execute that program again, it's not going to show me the entire layout. This time it's simply just going to show me the menu, and it's going to say which one do you want. 1, there's 1, enter. There's the information. If I want number 2, enter 2, enter, and there's that information. If I want to end, I can do a Control Z, and it will stop it right there. So that is Nano. Also, one thing that Ubuntu will do will list numbers. In the echo, if I do echo and I use the bracket, I can enter 1 and 100 and close the bracket, and that is going to display 1 through 100. So now if I wanted to do that in reverse, I certainly could. I could go in here and have it start at 100 and go to 1. So now if I do that, it will certainly count down from there as well. Ubuntu will also do mathematical equations. If I echo $ parentheses 2 plus 4, then I can see that it gives me an output. So I can do the same thing. I'll just use the arrow key now, and I'll multiply 2 times 4. 4 divided by, let's say 2. And then let's do a subtraction. So that's how Ubuntu does mathematical equations. Another thing that you can do is you can look at the system load. You can actually look at it as a histogram, and the way that we do that is by using xload. First of all, let's use the man and type in xload to see what it does. So remember, whenever you're looking at a command, always think about the man pages. So go to the manual, read the Find Manual, RTFM. So if we look at this, we can see that we can actually look at the system load average, and it is displayed for X. So if we quit out of that, and let's just put that in, xload, and what happens is a little window pops up. And what I like to do is just pull this down toward the bottom of the screen and then extend it a little bit. And as we're going through and we're doing things, we'll see this little window begin to populate down here, and it's printing out the histogram for us to see. Now, one thing about this is it's going to lock up your primary terminal. So we're going to open another, and the way that we do that is right click on the terminal and just go to New Terminal. If I wanted to stop that control, what I would do is I would go into here and do the Control Z. So you can see that we're already getting some information. So I'm just going to close this out. So again, if I wanted to stop, I'll do a Control Z, and it's going to stop that. If I click the minimize, it'll move it out of the way, because this window is not going to close until I close this window. So if I minimize it and move it back, it's going to stay over here. And now if I just simply close this out, you can see that it goes away. So I'll open up the terminal and bring it back in for a couple of other things here. So one thing that I would like to man is print environment. So your environmental objects and things like that, these are all variables. And so what this command does is it prints the values of the specified environment variables. So in order to get out of this, I'm just going to use Q to get out of that. And now we're going to actually print the environment. And so here's all of the information that it brings up. So I'll clear the screen again using the Control L to clear the screen. We can also get a calendar. So let's take a look at a calendar with CAL. If you need to man that, you certainly can. And when you open it up, the first thing you're going to see is the month and the day that you're in. So today is April 30th. But what if we want to see December? Well, if I bring up calendar again and I use a TAC M for the month and then give it the month, so in this case I'll give it December, then it's going to move to December. So I can take a look at December. Same thing if I want to do October or May or any other month. You can skip to that by doing that TAC M. Also, I can take a look at the processes that are operating right now by using the PS. Now if I man that, let's just take a quick look at what it does. So we can see the description here is it displays information about a selection of the active processes. If you want a repetitive update, you can use top. So we're going to take a look at both of those commands. I'll exit out of here and we will do the PS. So it's very simple, but what I would like to do is actually see the processes, and I would like to see them updating in real time. So let's go back to top. And if we do that, now what we're going to get is we're actually taking a look at the top processes in real time. So you can actually see my screen updating as these processes update. To get out of here, I'm going to use the Control Z, and it's going to stop that. And then I'll use the Control L to clear the screen. One last thing that I'd like to take a look at is if I do PWD, I see what is around me. So I've got home and WA above me. If I do an LS, I see all of the directories and folders that are below me in the hierarchy. If I want to see this in a more pleasing visual than this, I can use tree. And if I use tree, it's going to give me the same thing that I've got up here, but it's a little bit more in detail, and it gives the information a little bit easier on the eyes. So I can see back pipe coming from the highest level. So here's a dot back pipe. Here's the other folder, BSCK pipe, and then Deja Dupe here. And then inside that folder are these files. Now, if I wanted to see that using the other way, I would have to actually CD into Deja Dump to be able to see those. So using the tree, it actually maps everything that is below me. For instance, desktop. So I see desktop, and I know that there are some things on my desktop, but by using the tree function, I get desktop and all of the folders that are below desktop. If I were using the regular command keys, I would have to CD or change directory into desktop before I could see these. So this is pretty handy, especially if you're entering into another computer environment and you really don't have time to figure out by doing CD over and over again what is below you or going up the hierarchy above you. It would be easiest to go to the pinnacle and then do a tree and see everything that is there. And it's a lot faster because remember, when we breach a network in pen testing, we are really operating against the clock, because if they know that we're there, then they may terminate our connection, or they may come and try to trace our connection. Either way. So we want to use tools that are fast and effective, but they're also efficient, so that we can get out of the individual system as quickly as possible. And Tree certainly helps us do that by seeing all of these things. We have 9 directories and 11 files, so that is a real good tool to use. And then if I were to cd into desktop and then do an ls, there are the things on my desktop, and if I tree that, that's exactly what I'm going to get.